Hi, my name is Darren Joseph from HTJ Tax. We're the team that seeks to demystify this sometimes confusing world of international tax and the privilege of having a deep conversation with Mark. Mark, can you please introduce yourself?
I'm Mark Morris. I'm based in Switzerland. I've been here for about 26 years. I've specialized in automatic exchange of information, which originally was the EU Commission's EU Savings Tax Directive. And that went on until about 2014, and they scrapped that and they adopted the OECD's FATCA made into CRS.
So can you share with us what it is you do professionally?
Primarily, I provide custodial services for trusts to hold underlying entities or partnerships or unincorporated funds. So what I do is I provide the administration services for the custodial. I don't do the actual custody. And later on, I'll explain what administration services for custodial is. And I'm an expert in CRS and CARF, and I certainly know the intricate differences between CARF and CRS. We'll get into that in a later question, okay? I've published over 600 articles on LinkedIn, and I'm still writing about 10 a week. And I don't see other people covering 99% of the topics on CRS that I cover.
Okay, thank you.
And this is a topic that we touched on previously as well. Jurisdictions like Singapore offer a residence based on a work permit or a tax ID. You seem to be challenging the idea that by leasing an apartment or leasing a place of abode, you may be claiming residence in a jurisdiction where you should not be tax resident. You want to talk more about that?
Yeah, okay. So maybe some ultra-high net worth buys something on Sentosa Island for tens of millions, okay? He's not renting some cheap apartment near the airport, okay? The plausibility. So now we get back to something that is critical. The OECD in 2018, after the assassination of the journalist in Malta, who wrote about the kickbacks of residence by investment schemes. So they came out quite strongly against places that offer residence. They named 12 countries, but they're basically saying, if your client is resident in a country where he doesn't show all his places of residence, where do you get all these places of residence from? That's another OECD Model Convention. So this goes over the heads of compliance. If you're there for 183 days or not, it doesn't mean that's the only place where you're tax resident. So you can be tax resident. The OECD said people are only going to supply information on one jurisdiction as if they are solely resident there and not resident somewhere else.
Right.
If you look at the OECD Model Convention, it says, first of all, so they're talking about dual residency, but multiple residency.
Yeah.
Now, if you've got a house, a permanent abode, an apartment, and if you got the front door key and you can enter that 24/7, 365, so it's not rented out to somebody else, then you're a resident in that country as well. So all these rich people, ultra high or just high, it's very unlikely that the only place they've kept is in Singapore. So it's highly likely that they've still got their house or somewhere else. So the question is, how will they know? If I don't tell them, how are they going to know? Well, it's quite simple. Where did you live before? Okay, prove that you sold that place. So the Model Convention says you can be resident in 10 places. If you've got 10 places, there's a 5 test to determine the sole country that has the taxing rights. Remember, CRS, that's not the role of CRS. The role of CRS is to find out where could you possibly be tax resident. So the next thing is center of vital interest. So where are your personal and business interests located? And by the way, how deep does it go? The Model Convention says all social and business experts, etc. It's that word, etc., which is ominous, okay? Which means they can go deep as they want. So there's a list that I provide people. You know, where's your doctor? Where's your license? Where's your car registered? Where's your pets? Where's your family? It just goes on with social clubs. Where's your gym? And so on. And then that's the personal interest. Where's the expanded family? How expanded is that? Where do they go to school? Then it's the business interest. Where do you hold meetings? What businesses do you have? So you can have
multiple, right? Yeah.
Multiple. And it doesn't say that social takes priority over the business. It's just multiple. So far, we got resident in China because he's got interest there, and Kuala Lumpur and so on. Then you got to go down to the next level to try to determine. But I'm not trying to determine the sole residency. I'm trying to determine where is he possibly tax resident. And then you must report to all those places.
Exactly.
Before this, there was Indicia, where's your PO box number? But that was, again, going for the dual residency. So CRS is very much after dual. So then the next aspect is habitual abode.
Yeah.
Habitual abode is some place that you've got that you go back, whether it's once a year or whether it's every vacation, and you probably got long-term intentions to go live there. So that's habitual abode. Then you're resident there. And the fourth test is a surprise, even to me. You've got all these places where you're tax resident. There could be. Which country has the sole rights to tax you? And believe it or not, the Model Convention says nationality. Where's your passport? And that's a killer, because how many people got dual passports? How easy is it to get a Singapore passport? I don't think it's easy. Okay. So then you got dual passports because residents by investment. You buy the passport, the Caribbean. So that doesn't solve it.
So what you're pushing back on is this drive to determine a sole tax residency.
No, it's not up to CRS. It's not up to compliance. Right. It's up to where are you possibly tax resident.
Exactly.
So the final rule for determining sole tax residency, if you've got all these, the competent authorities of both countries must mutually agree that who's got the tax residency. And I believe that can take 12 years. Can you imagine somebody hiding their money and saying, I'm going to ask my authority? So they're going to leave it up, report to everybody. And it's kind of, let's report it to everybody, shoot them all and sort out the mess. So these compliance officers that are acting like they're a tax treaty grates me, because it's not their job. Doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. So I'm aware of some financial institutions where, as part of the KYC or the AML, they try to determine a single residence. But I'm also aware of others where it's just like an open-ended question. Where are you tax resident? I think if you have as much space as you would need to write as many countries as you would like. So I guess, there are two competing perspectives.
No, CRS actually says send to all tax residents. Like a trust in multiple places, each trustee must report. No, CRS is very much multifaceted. Don't get confused between CRS and the tax treaties. They are related in trying to determine where you're possibly tax resident, but in any compliance officer,
they're just confused,
Yes, but that's what I'm talking about.
Right.